and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Karen Doyle, Operations Director of CTAM Europe. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Simon Murray, who you may recognise from past CTAM Europe webinars. Simon is Principal Analyst at Digital TV Research based in the UK. Today, we'll find out more from Simon about how SVOD is continuing its global evolution. We're due to last around 30 minutes with time for questions at the end. So if you're watching this live, please use your Q&A button to post your questions. As always, the recording of this presentation will be posted on the members only section of ctameurope.com. And if you're not a current member, we'd love to have you join us. So please email info@ctameurope.com for details on how to sign up. Members have access to 2 webinars a month, an annual symposium, and also webinars and monthly podcasts from our colleagues at CTAM US. I will also follow up with you in the next day or so regarding our flagship programme, the fantastic week-long executive management programme, which we hold at INSEAD. Your details will be shared with Digital TV Research, who may in turn follow up with you. So with all that said, I will now pass you over to Simon. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have a look at the total marketplace. We predict that the SVOD market around the world will be worth about $132 billion by 2027. And that's 42 billion up on 2021. So there's still quite a lot of growth to be had in the marketplace, despite some of the reports you might have read recently. The other thing to bear in mind here, and might be surprising to some people, is the US is still the market leader by a long way, and the US will gain the highest revenues growth for any country around the world, and it will actually rise by $14 billion. Again, we're seeing a lot of reports recently about saturation in the marketplace, but I think there's still a lot of growth to be had in the US. China will remain in second place, but growth in China will really slow after this year. This is a combination of 2 major factors, one being the poor shape of the economy there, and the second one being the government's clampdown on a lot of OTT content. So it's less attractive to subscribers there. Okay, so in subscription terms, the number of subscriptions will grow faster than the number of subscribers. A subscriber is a home that pays for at least 1 subscription. So the number of subscriptions will reach 1.7 billion by 2027. That's up by $500 million on 2021. And to show that it is actually growing faster than the number of subscribers, the average subscriber will pay for 2.27 subscriptions by 2027, up from just over over 2 at the end of last year. Now those percentage points there mean a lot of money. So that's a big difference, and that's up by 1/4 of a subscription by each subscriber. Now, in terms of household penetration, this is the SVOD subscribers as a percentage of TV households on the right-hand side. So this is homes paying for at least 1 subscription. As you can see, there's quite a lot of variation there between the countries involved and the major countries involved there. The global average will reach 41% of the world's TV households by 2027 will pay for at least 1 subscription, and that's up from 35% at the end of last year. So in country terms, the US actually overtook China last year in the number of subscriptions, partly because of the slowdown in China, but also because of continued growth in the US. And as you can see from the right-hand side, the US will add 77 million subscriptions over the next few years. So there's still a lot of growth to be had in the US. China, I think 12 million more shows how much the market will slow down there. But India is the big winner, adding 92 million subscriptions over the next few years. China and the US together take about 47% of the world's market in 2027, which is a lot, obviously, but it's down on 59% last year. So other countries are growing faster than those two. And on a platform by platform basis, we forecast that the big six in the US will have nearly 900 million subscriptions by 2027. And that is 53% of the world's total will be due to just six platforms there. As you can see from the right-hand side, we're still expecting growth for Netflix, although of course it will be slower than some of its competitors. But Netflix will be the market leader by 2027 with 251 million subscriptions. Disney will have 207 million. This is a lot lower than our previous forecast. Our previous forecast, based on the March results, had Disney with 274 million subscriptions by 2027, and that was assuming that Disney won or retained the rights to the Indian Premier League cricket, which is a massive boost to its subscription base, especially in India. However, it didn't win those rights from next year onwards, so we have lowered our forecast for Disney Plus considerably for the next few years. Other newish platforms, Paramount Plus and HBO Max stroke HBO Max stroke Discovery Plus stroke Eurosport in Europe will also show strong growth in the next few years. However, their end result numbers of 82 million for Paramount Plus and 77 million for HBO will be quite a lot lower than Netflix and Disney Plus. We're not expecting any foreign companies to launch in China, and we're not expecting any foreign companies to re-enter the Russian market in the next few years. Okay. So in money terms, in revenue terms and SVOD revenues, and then we have taken into account the fact that a lot of the major platforms will be offering hybrid AVOD/SVOD platforms over the next year or so. Still seeing quite a lot of growth. Netflix will have 31 billion in SVOD revenues by 2027. That's not much growth, as you can see from the right-hand side. However, Netflix's 31 billion will be as much as Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, and HBO Max combined. Disney Plus will be the fastest growing platform in terms of revenue growth, but it will still remain some way behind Netflix. Now, these charts aren't directly comparable, although there are some comparisons to be made from the two. The average ARPU for Disney Plus and Netflix, as you can see, the average ARPU for Disney Plus is a long way behind the average ARPU for Netflix. And it's a long way behind in North America as well. But what you can notice from Disney Plus's ARPU is the ARPUs for Hotstar, Disney Plus Hotstar, which is principally in India, and now also in Southeast Asia, is very low. In fact, the US and Canadian ARPU is about 6 times as much as the Hotstar ARPU for Disney Plus. So that's one reason why Disney Plus Hotstar may not have been so interested in bidding high for the Indian Premier League cricket rights over the next few years, because the value that it would take some time to regain that value, because it can only charge so much in India for its services. Hotstar having an ARPU of $1.20 in the quarter to June 2022 is really low in compared with its other regions of the world. However, in India, that's actually quite high. Some of the platforms in India only charge about 30 cents for their offering, so that's a very competitive market there. Okay, just to show how important Hotstar is to Disney Plus in terms of subscriber growth, the grey block there, Hotstar had 58 million subscribers at the end of June. We think it will lose some subscribers in India when it loses the Indian Premier League rights. And of course, a lot of its future growth, as I said earlier, will be affected by the fact that it doesn't have Indian Premier League rights. Also seeing, looking at this chart, its growth in North America seems to be slowing down quite rapidly. However, we think that Disney Plus will show the greatest growth in the middle block, the orange block, international, excluding Hotstar, because it has rolled out in several regions fairly recently. So that's where its biggest growth is going to be. So looking at two big players or two major competitors, Netflix and Disney Plus. Netflix has a by 2027 will have a nice split of subscribers across the world. The US will only account for a quarter of its total, and in fact, it will actually lose some subscribers in the US over the next few years due to it being a very competitive market. So Netflix will have 251 million subscribers by 2027. Disney Plus will have 207 million subscribers overall. The Indian figure is a lot lower than our previous forecast, and our previous forecast of 274 million. Most of the difference was going to be in India, but because it doesn't have Indian Premier League rights anymore, its growth will be more modest. So this chart is probably what alarmed the Wall Street analysts the most over recent months. It shows the net subscriber additions for Netflix over the last few quarters. And as you can see, in the first half of this year, it actually lost about 1 million subscribers, although a substantial number of those subscribers were in Russia, and it pulled out of Russia. It's estimating that it will add 1 million subscribers in the third quarter of this year. My guess would be that growth in the fourth quarter of the year will be quite modest as well. As you can see in a few of the last fourth quarters in previous years, it's added more than 8 million subscribers. I don't think it'll be anywhere near that. It won't be I would guess it's going to be less than half that, if that even. So Netflix growth has been quite affected. The company's been shaken up by more competition, and I think it needs to change its content strategy for more blockbuster offerings. And in fact, the company's actually said that itself. So that's what we can expect. And just to reinforce what I just said, if you look at that blue line there, you can see how Netflix has grown in as far as subscriber additions in the last few years. And it added to 18 million subscribers last year, which is only half as much as in 2020, which of course was a boom year due to the COVID lockdowns. This year, it's going to be much lower than 2021 even. So yeah, Netflix it's still going to grow, but not as quickly as previous years, I think I'm trying to say. Okay, here are two of the newer players, HBO Max and Paramount Plus, both of which have delayed international rollouts to some extent. HBO Max has delayed its rollouts internationally because of its merger with Discovery Plus and Eurosport, and it has a quite slow rollout internationally for its services in the future. Paramount Plus has recorded pretty strong growth in recent months, but it's delayed somewhat its Sky Showtime service. It covers 22 countries in Europe. Its joint venture with NBC Universal, and the last country to receive it will be in March next year. So, as I said earlier, HBO Max stroke Discovery Plus stroke Eurosport will have 77 million subscribers by 2027. It launched in Latin America last year. It's launched in Eastern Europe this year, but it hasn't gone full bore on subscriber growth because of this realignment with Discovery Plus and Eurosport. And as you can see, HBO Max in 2027, there are some key countries missing there, most notably the 5 Sky countries. HBO has an exclusive deal with Sky that doesn't expire until the end of 2025. So HBO Max might want to continue that lucrative agreement in coming years, rather than start a service in those 5 countries when the market's getting more and more mature. Of course, it might launch as a joint venture with Sky in the meantime. For Paramount Plus, 82 million subscribers by 2027. 60% of them will still be in the US. It launched in Latin America last year, as several other major platforms did, and it launched in the Middle East and North Africa region this year. There haven't been any announcements yet of launching in the emerging Asian markets, so that'd be interesting. And of course, yet to come is or just started, I should say, is the Sky Showtime joint venture with NBC Universal in 22 European countries. Okay, now this chart shows the challenge that HBO has. As you can see, the second from bottom row, its retail subscriber base for HBO Max, this is in the US only, doubled to 14 million last year. However, it still had 29 million wholesale subscribers. Now these are pay TV subscribers that have access to HBO Max, so aren't paying for it directly, that HBO Max will want to convert over to the SVOD platform. But the challenge it has is converting those subscribers, those pay TV subscribers, over to streaming without upsetting the pay TV operators, and of course without losing the lucrative carriage fee rights that it has with them. And it's not just the 29 million pay TV subscribers there in the US. There are about 20 million as well in the international markets, principally in Latin America, Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia, that it will want to convert over. Paramount Plus has enjoyed quite a fast growth over the last few quarters, as you can see from the chart. The growth will continue as the platform expands internationally. Perhaps most interesting is the blue block there. You can see that the number of subscribers fell in the last quarter. Most of that blue block is subscribers to the Showtime platform in the US. And there has been some talk about Showtime merging with Paramount Plus in some way, shape or form, although nothing official has been announced yet. Okay, so here are 2 platforms that do not rely on SVOD as their main revenue stream. And in fact, both Amazon and Apple use SVOD as a way of enhancing their other products. Okay, so Amazon Prime Video is available free to Amazon Prime members. Amazon Prime is available in 27 countries. Outside Amazon Prime, we have only about 15 million homes by 2027 we think will actually pay for Amazon Prime Video directly. So that's 15 million out of a total of 250 million. So Amazon Prime Video is very reliant on Amazon Prime for its, well, you can call them subscribers, although they're not paying directly for it. Apple TV Plus, on the other hand, we're expecting 29 million homes to pay for it directly by 2027. And that's despite the fact that it's often given away free to purchasers of top range Apple products. So yeah, there are plenty of people receiving Apple TV Plus for free, but these are actual paying numbers down there. And as you can see, the US is the biggest market by far in 2027. Apple TV Plus has won a lot of plaudits for some of its content, but I think it's the depth or the range of content or the lack of it that is putting people off from subscribing to it on a long-term basis. So the market's becoming more and more consolidated as time goes on, and there has been quite a lot of speculation recently about people forming alliances and perhaps, well, we see, as I mentioned before, Paramount Plus, Showtime might be integrated within it. There are combination deals for Disney and some of its other products, such as Hulu in the States and the ESPN Plus. HBO, as I said, is now being rejigged to take into account Discovery Plus and Eurosport in Europe. So there are sort of internal consolidations going on. This is an attempt to show the possible alliances between the key players, with the green block being a possible alliance and the red blocks being an unlikely alliance. And as you can see, if you believe this chart, then Paramount Plus becomes the most attractive alliance for every single of the other 5 players in the marketplace. You know, we have been obviously surprised in the past with other alliances, but it would seem that Paramount is the most sort of neutral as far as the other services are concerned. Thank you very much. That's the end of the quick presentation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Simon. Fabulous as always. Great facts and figures too. Now I've got 3 questions here. Okay. First one. Hi, Simon. Have the streamers priced in the challenges that households in Europe will face with the cost of living increases in the next 12 months? Where might the biggest growth be for them in other global regions if this proves to be the case?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, cost of living crisis won't necessarily just affect Europe. So that's something to take into account. So there might not be any magical areas for these services to grow. Cost of living crisis. I think what people do is the first thing they do is cut back on really expensive items, such as moving house or buying a new car. And then the next thing that people do is they cut back on other fairly expensive items, such as going on holiday or going out to restaurants, for example. So I think after that, and I'm not saying it's bulletproof by any means, but after that, you get to a situation whereby people are spending more time at home and want to be entertained. And I'm not saying necessarily that's a COVID-like boom for the SVOD market, but I think it will mean people will still take the services, although they might take fewer of the services.
True. And I believe that, in fact, one of my friends is doing this. She's starting to alternate what she's got. So 1 week, because it's a rolling contract, or not a contract, I suppose, 1 week or 1 month she's having Netflix, and then 1 month she's having Disney Plus.
Yeah, I can see why people might be attracted in doing that. I think some of the services actually block you
right,
from doing it with it for a fairly short, like 6 months or something like that, from re-signing up. But of course, I suppose you could always use another member of the household. So
yeah,
to
do that. Got about 10 email addresses for discounts. Now, I've got another one here about alliances. Do you suggest that Paramount Plus is open to play with anyone, or that they're an attractive potential partner for everyone?
Right. Yes, I should clarify. These companies haven't said that they're going to ally themselves with anybody yet. Okay, this is my just my way of looking at it. But it does look. I mean, it does look on from my point of view, not from Paramount's point of view, that Paramount would make a good fit with quite a lot of the other players there. So they haven't said this. None of the players said they're going to join forces with the other ones. By the way, this is purely my speculation on what could possibly happen.
Yeah. Excellent. And then one more. Why will SVOD subscribers and revenues continue growing so fast in the US?
Okay. Well, the main reason is continued cord cutting. The loss of traditional pay TV subscribers in the States. Cord cutting, I'm quite surprised actually. I was looking at the figures the other day, and cord cutting is still fairly rampant in the States. People just don't want to pay for it. I thought it would slow down by now, but it actually seems to be not accelerating, but it seems to be continuing, and more people are cutting the cord, and more people are relying on SVOD subscriptions for their entertainment services now.
Right, last one for now, unless if anybody has any more questions, we have got a few more minutes. Can local platforms thrive against the big US Big Five?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, there has been a lot of talk in Europe about this, and recently in France, the two major broadcasters were prevented by the competition authority from merging. They said they wanted to merge to offset the likes of Netflix or any of the other US-based services, but the competition authority said no way. So they thought that together they could offer quite a serious competitor to Netflix. They haven't. A lot of the traditional broadcasters in Europe, especially, haven't really put a lot of faith in their SVOD services. RTL's done it to some extent in Germany and the Netherlands, but there are still quite a few people you think they should be more involved and committing more money and content to a service that won't make any money for a few years, but maybe is the future for attracting younger audiences. One notable success story as far as localized services concerned is Viaplay in the Nordic countries, which has been tremendously successful, and it's not necessarily competitive to the likes of Netflix, but it has done very well with linear and live programming as well as on-demand programming.
Excellent. Now, have we got any more questions? No. So if anybody has any more questions, Simon, just put the final screen on it, the final slide on. There's Simon's email address. If you have any more questions, you can email Simon there, or if you wish to view the recording, if you're a member, you can check out ctameurope.com, and if not, you can join by emailing info@ctameurope.com. So thank you once again, everybody, for taking the time out to join us. And Simon, thanks for putting through a fabulous presentation as well. See you. Thanks again. See you all soon. Bye.